Two big phones, but which one is best for you? Is it Apple's Gigantosaurus or BlackBerry's SpongeBob? They are two entirely different devices, and I wanted to compare them and see which features of which phones was better than the other, and see which one is the best all-round package for you. So where do you start with the design? The iPhone 6 is really tall, whereas the Passport is quite wide. Neither of the devices are a one-handed device, that's quite clear from the outset. Now yes, you can achieve some tasks with the iPhone with one hand, but actually reaching everything on screen is difficult, and typing isn't the best experience in the world on such a large display, so I consider them both to be two-handed devices, and both of them stretch the term pocket-friendly to the utmost limit. You can definitely feel that they're in your pocket when they're there, but of the two, the iPhone is by far the most uncomfortable. It has elegant curves all around the edges, on the glass, just at the edges of the glass that give it a really sort of subtle curve and almost a seamless design around the entire phone. But of the two phones, the Passport is the one that feels the most sturdy, the most durable, the most likely to damage your floor if you drop it. It's got a really nice metal chassis inside that holds it all together and makes it strong, and it doesn't look bad either. I think it's one of the best looking phones, even if it is one of the most unusual looking phones on the market. It feels incredibly solid, the keys are really well made on the front and they're divided by those nice metal frets. It's got a Corning Gorilla Glass 3 panel on the front, and it just all looks like a really classy package that's going to last you forever. Whereas the iPhone 6 is undoubtedly the more elegant and more beautiful of the two, at least from the front. So is there a winner here in the design category? I don't think there is. It's hard because design is something that's so personal and subjective. I like the way the iPhone looks more than I like the way the BlackBerry looks, but the BlackBerry is the more durable of the two. It's the one that's not going to bend in your pocket. It's incredibly solid, so this round is a tie. They also have two really different displays. BlackBerry went with a 4.5-inch square 1440 by 1440 display panel. The iPhone is a full 1080p resolution screen that's 5.5 inches diagonally, and uses the more traditional 16 by 9 ratio. It's 453 pixels per inch versus 401 pixels per inch, and in terms of sharpness and clarity, you don't really tell that much difference. Both displays in terms of quality are plenty good enough. You got crisp whites and nice sharp lines on the font, and they're both pretty responsive and look great from virtually any angle. You could argue that the iPhone's has a little bit more life, more vividity in the colours, a bit more contrast to give it a bit more of that pop that we like to talk about a lot. But that's not what makes the iPhone 6 Plus's display better. It is the shape. The Passport's shape has been designed primarily for emails and Word documents and web browsing, which it is fantastic at. But for everything else that you might want to use a smartphone for, it's not. Playing games, watching videos, editing photographs, using apps, they're all just much better on the larger 16 by 9 screen display. The Passport has been fine-tuned for specific tasks, and for those, the display is brilliant, but not for everything else. So this round has to go to the iPhone 6 Plus, because for the average consumer, it is going to be the better display of the two. The iPhone 6 Plus easily wins the camera round as well. Not only do you get better quality images in terms of colour and sharpness and light, but also it's easier to use. It's switching between videos and square photographs and panoramas and time-lapse and slow motion features is so simple, you just have to switch through them by sliding your thumb. And BlackBerry's feature list isn't that big. It does have HDR, optical image stabilization, and it can take good photographs. But the quality just isn't quite as good as the iPhone 6 Plus, and that's despite the fact that it's got 13 megapixels over the iPhone's 8 megapixels, which goes to show what we always say about how pixels don't matter that much. They just make the pictures larger. They don't make the pictures better. And that's not to say the BlackBerry camera is terrible. It's the best camera we've ever seen on any BlackBerry ever. But BlackBerry announcing that it's the best ever camera on a BlackBerry is almost like McDonald's announcing that they've just created their healthiest ever beef burger. And then we get on to performance and battery life. And the iPhone 6 Plus has the best battery life that any iPhone has ever had. On a full charge, I normally get about a day and a half, sometimes 2 days use. But 2 days really is the utmost limit, and that's if I hardly use the phone at all. With the BlackBerry, I get 2 days every single time. The battery life is phenomenal. It's got 3,450 mAh stuffed into the battery cell, whereas the iPhone has just over 2,900 mAh. And that's when I'm using the device as my main phone, which I have been doing now for the last week or so. It's almost got to the point now where I almost forget that I need to charge it. Because I know it's just going to keep going as I keep using it, and eventually it will run out, but I never have to be in a rush or a mad panic to find my charger. And the quad-core 2.26 Snapdragon 801 series processor in the Passport makes really light work of the user interface. It's very quick and fluid and snappy. Switching between screens, dragging down menus, going into apps is really fast and instant. And that's partly down to the processor and partly down to the way the user interface has been designed to not add loads of custom animations like iOS has. That tends to make it seem a little bit slower on the iPhone. It's just snappy and productive and quick and efficient. You don't spend as much time waiting for things until you actually load a third-party app, particularly if you download an Android app from the App Store, the Amazon App Store. Sometimes you'll find you're waiting a little while for information to load. And that's something that third-party app developers will hopefully try and address, because it kind of tarnishes the experience of using the user interface on BlackBerry 10. But the iPhone 6 Plus isn't perfect on the performance side either. The 1.4 GHz A8 chip in the iPhone is incredibly fast and fluid. It's just the user interface sometimes feels like it's not that quick. I often experience stuttering when I'm scrolling through galleries or browser pages, and I also sometimes find that the landscape orientation locks to the side and stays there and doesn't want to move back unless I either reboot the phone or go back home using the home button. Although in most cases the iPhone 6 is probably the better performer, I'm going to award this round to the BlackBerry purely because of the incredible battery life. And of course we have to look at the operating system and the ecosystem, and mostly the ecosystem is what we're going to focus on, because this is the one area where BlackBerry really needs to improve. iPhone, iOS, App Store, iTunes has the best ecosystem on the market. Not many people will argue with that fact, so competing with that is always going to be difficult. But with BlackBerry, there are so few apps in BlackBerry's app world that they've had to install Amazon App Store for Android and also enable you to sideload Android apps. And that would be great if the Android apps worked perfectly on the Passport, but they don't. Not many of them look very good on a square screen. They either cut off the sides or they just don't run. I installed 10 to 20 Android apps using various tools like Amazon's App Store, and after sideloading the Snap App Store, which gives you basically a portal into the entire Google Play Store, I'll say of the 10 to 20 apps, at least half of them crashed or just didn't work at all, and I ended up deleting them. So compatibility and optimization for the square screen is going to have to improve. What I will say on the BlackBerry OS side is that I really like the gestures for swiping in and out of menus, into the hub, out of the hub, swiping down for the settings. I find that really fluid and quick and easy. In fact, I'd probably say it was more intuitive than any other operating system. But it really has sort of got an Achilles heel with the app world, and so the ecosystem round has to go to the iPhone as well. So as an overall package then, the iPhone 6 Plus is the better phone for the average consumer. But we already knew that. BlackBerry created the Passport for a very specific group of people, and I have to keep reminding myself of this. For people that want long battery life, a great physical keyboard, a productive phone that's fantastic for editing emails and documents and all that kind of stuff, the Passport is easily better than the iPhone 6 Plus. But for everything else, for regular people, the iPhone 6 Plus is clearly better than the BlackBerry Passport. Let me know what you think of the two phones and which one you're going to get or which one you have got. Use the comment section below, grab me on Twitter. I'm at phonedog_cam. Thank you very much for watching my rambling. Feel free to ask me any questions, and I will see you again soon. Two big phones. But the question is, how do you compare these? Which one is the best? Is Apple's Gigantosaurus Rex the best phone around, or is the SpongeBob SquarePants from BlackBerry? I don't know why I thought that was a great intro.